Welcome to the Cinephiles. It's the KARE 11 Plus show where three movie lovers get together. We talk all things film. We show you some of the new releases that we've checked out or would like to check out. And we talk about some of our favorite films in cinema as well. And we're starting today with a new film starring Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen. This one is Eternity.
You've passed away, Larry.
Who are you?
I'm Anna. I'm your afterlife coordinator.
That's not a job.
And this is the junction, where you choose one place to spend eternity.
You want a little sniffle?
And who to spend it with.
Joan!
I was in bed and then I...
You look amazing. I have shocking news. You're dead. Yeah, how'd you know?
It took him forever to figure that out.
Excuse me. I've been waiting for this golden goose for 67 goddamn years. It's a lot to absorb, so I highly recommend just taking a deep breath in and out. Just breathe.
I never dreamt you this clearly.
You're exactly how I dreamt you.
Oh, no.
All right, so this is Eternity. It's the new film from A24. As you said, starring Elizabeth Olsen and Miles Teller. How dare you leave out Callum Turner?
Sorry.
It's fine. I'll
Just
forgive
go off
you.
the top of the dome.
Fair enough. It also stars Divine Joy Randolph and John Early, whom steal the show. I love both of them. The premise of this film is you die, you have to pick a specific eternity to spend eternity in. You can go to museums, you can go to the beach, you can go to the mountains, it doesn't matter, but once you pick one, you're there. There's no going back.
And there's an interesting twist though, right? Isn't it like if you had a former love,
Well,
which
yes.
love would you pick? If you remarried or if you had a first love in high school and they went off to war and passed away, but you see them in heaven and you're like, well, which?
Yeah, so Elizabeth Olsen does have that dilemma. She dies, she sees Larry, Miles Teller, who is her husband of 65 years, and unbeknownst to her and Larry, Callum Turner is waiting for her. But he made that choice. He chose not to go into a specific eternity to wait for the love of his life.
Oof.
So you could go be with your parents, be with your siblings, be with the crush you had in high school, go to the beach, whatever, and your wife would be like, where's Chris? He didn't wait for me? What the heck? I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really fun. I'm a sucker for a love triangle and a romantic comedy trope. Sorry about it. I think the comedic timing of Miles Teller is pristine. The comedic timing of Divine Joy Randolph and John Early, amazing. That I don't have anything bad to say about this movie.
So it's a rom-com drama?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Rom-com drama?
Yeah. I liked it too. For me, it reminded me a lot of one of my favorite comedies, which is Defending Your Life from 1991, which is a movie about going to the afterlife, and Albert Brooks wrote, directed, and starred in it. And he goes to the afterlife, meets someone in the afterlife, and kind of falls in love. It's Meryl Streep, by the way. Great movie. I think the director of Eternity is drawing a lot from that. There's kind of a whole bureaucratic afterlife where you have to, there are rules, and there's kind of it's all sort of vaguely familiar to what Earth is like. It had kind of a weird 70s look to the aesthetic and the design of like there's like a conference, almost like a conference with booths where you go and you kind of shop which afterlife you want to go to, and it all looks sort of rinky-dink like 70s for some reason. I didn't really understand that, but I thought it was cool. And the potential of all these afterlives is a lot of fun. I think there's a point maybe where it could have ended and it goes on for a little too long. Like there's a 4-act structure here rather than a 3-act structure, and that's where I maybe kind of lost me. But that and just kind of the general, I don't know, derivativeness of it being sort of like Defending Your Life and A Matter of Life and Death, which is another afterlife movie. Maybe just took it down a little notch, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I too like a romantic comedy, and this was a good one. It was an imaginative one.
And it like talked about, hey guys, live life to the fullest because tomorrow's not promised, but not in a like in your face type of way. And it kind of played with the emotions, how you expect your partner to be in a relationship, what you want out of a partner, what you want for yourself, and you're like, oh, well, this person has A and B, but this person has C and D. I don't know what to do now. And so it raises the drama and the stakes
Sure.
a little.
Yeah.
This is why I asked the priest when I married my wife to say, "Till death do us part and beyond."
Nice.
Just for this,
Nice.
just in case we get to the afterlife and there's
Yeah.
an eternity you got to choose. I hope you choose me
Find somebody who loves you like Chris loves Jackie.
Yeah.
and beyond. Would you rate it?
I'd say see it.
See it. Absolutely.
All right, there we go. Coming up next, we're going to talk about, love this. This is a Stephen King book.
Yep.
This is a Schwarzenegger movie from the 80s, but they redid it. It's Running Man.
People on these games never come back.
We have no choice. We need money for a doctor now.
Welcome to the Running Man.
Contestants will be hunted for 30 days. Anyone can kill you.
Hunt them down!
Okay, what is going on here?
So it's if you're familiar with the movie, the '87 movie, and not the book, this is going to look very different to you. I will say that it does follow the book quite closely, which I was very happy about because I really love the book. The 80s movie, not so much, but it's a fascinating take on kind of a Hunger Games type game, or to reference a movie that came out earlier this year, The Long Walk, another movie by Stephen King. And it's a game show where citizens sign up. The class divide is even wider than it is today, and the very poor can sign up to play a game. In this case, it's the Running Man, where they have to survive 30 days, and if they survive those 30 days, they'll get something like $1 billion. And along the way, the main character, played by Glenn Powell, is accumulating funds for his family, and that's why he signs up in the first place. He's got a sick daughter and a wife who's doing a not ideal job, and he's trying to help his family out, and every day that he survives, he gets a little bit more money. The challenge here is that, one, he's being hunted by people who are part of the game show, and he's also being kind of ousted by everyday citizens who, if they snap a photo of him and send it into the game, they get some money. So there's a financial incentive for kind of everyone.
It's like John Wick 2.
It's got
And
that
Hunger
type
Games.
of action. Yeah, it's got that type of action. What I really liked about this movie was how, it's really a reflection of today, kind of the government controlling the media and kind of turning people against each other. There's definite commentary about the economic divide and deep fakes, which obviously
AI.
wasn't a part of the Stephen King novel, but they've kind of woven that in. Not everything is the same as the novel if someone's a purist. The ending is a little different, I think, which makes a little sense because if you know the ending of the book, it's got a very kind of like 9/11 type ending. So they changed it in a way that I think is really galvanizing and really kind of made me like, yeah, fight the power, at the end. So it's directed by Edgar Wright, and he has a lot of great action, great editing. So yeah, I was really satisfied by this. I don't think it's Wright's best movie. I really love Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and all of his early stuff, but I thought it was a blast and a great adaptation.
And so the 87 version with Schwarzenegger was about like a corrupt military law enforcement framing Schwarzenegger.
Right.
And the people that were in this show, which was entertaining to all the gore-wanting citizens, they were all like death row inmates. But in this case, it's people who sign up.
Yeah, and in that movie, there was an arena, and there were kind of gimmicky characters.
It was like American Gladiators to death.
Right, and this is like all across America. He can go
it's
anywhere.
anywhere.
Yeah, which is a little bit more chilling because everyone's playing the game and everyone wants to get a little money by turning him in. So his enemies are everywhere.
So is it a statement of greed? Is it a statement of political control?
I mean,
Both.
yes, both.
All of it? Yeah. Okay. I can't wait. I'll watch it for sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
I have.
How do you guys see all these movies?
It's in the theater.
Is it out now?
It is out now.
Oh, so okay. I thought it wasn't out until this Friday.
No.
It just came out.
last Friday. Yeah.
God, now I feel like an idiot.
The 14th. Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
But is Eternity?
No, that's this Friday.
Eternity is out on the 25th, I think, in Minnesota.
They're cool. They get screeners. They get to go to special showings. They get all this stuff. But it makes it better because I'm like the pedestrian who doesn't get to see it, and I get to get a preview firsthand through you guys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. I'll get the egg off my face.
What did you think?
It's fine. I enjoyed Running Man while I was in it. There was a lot of good action. There was a lot of good commentary. There were lots of good edits, humor, all of it. I did not think about this movie once after I stepped out of that movie theater. I was just like, all right, that happened. That doesn't mean that I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It just means it didn't stick with me.
Right.
And I do agree, like the book is very kind of 9/11-ish at the end. I haven't read it, but I've been told. And while I see where they were going with the ending, and I do understand it and like it enough, I do think that the book ending, when stuff isn't kind of wrapped in a bow and given to you with what you want, is a little bit better.
Okay.
Like that's why I like La La Land so much, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Good point. All right. Well, I have to check it out. But what did you rate it?
See it.
I'd say see it. Yeah.
A couple of see it's. All right. There you go.
Absolutely.
All right. Created by First Generation, raised on movies, handheld cameras, jump cuts, raw energy. The French New Wave was not your father's cinema. It was a revolution. And we're going to talk about it next. All right, welcome back. This is for all you film lovers out there. In the late 1950s, in France, a group of young directors stepped out of the studio system. They went rogue, capturing life in a way that audiences had never seen before. Their films were fast, they were intimate, they were alive. And these film critics turned filmmakers broke cinematic grammar and rewrote it in the same breath, bringing literally a new wave to cinema, and that's what it was called. So if someone is unaware of this whole French Revolution in cinema, how would you describe it to people?
Yeah, so it was a critical reaction to what was a tradition of quality in French cinema. So there were a lot of literary adaptations in the 50s and a lot of costume dramas, and everything was kind of bland and prescribed and no experimentation. And the critics of the Cahiers du Cinéma, which is a film journal, famous film journal founded in Paris, a lot of them went on to become, a lot of the critics writing for this magazine went on to become the filmmakers that we're going to be talking about, and made some great movies. And they were inspired by Italian neorealism and kind of the stripped down aesthetic of Italian neorealism, where you're shooting on location, you don't have a lot of equipment in terms of lighting, you're using untrained actors, you're catching a slice of life, you're using, at least in the new wave style, you're rethinking narrative structure, rethinking visual techniques, and trying to elevate the art and make something personal. And their whole idea was that Francois Truffaut coined this idea of the auteur theory, which is auteur is the French word for author. So a director is an author of their film, and we want to make films auteur films, as opposed to just one for them, one for us, like some directors sometimes work today. So they're making passionate movies, and they're also trying to experiment with form. And so
they're being very rock and roll and avant-garde with
absolutely.
movies.
And some of the greatest filmmakers working today, Martin Scorsese, Steven Soderbergh, Quentin Tarantino, are all very inspired by the new wave. And those aesthetic principles that were set down in the 50s and 60s were carried on, and we're still seeing those elements today.
So what is Breathless then?
Breathless is a film that was Jean-Luc Godard's first ever feature. It came out in the 1960. It follows a guy who is kind of not the best person in the world. He's a little shady, gets into some trouble, and he is just living his life essentially and trying to just be shady for 90 minutes. He loves a girl, but I don't think he actually loves a girl, but she loves him, kinda. And it just follows these two people living their lives for a few days in little vignettes of like, here's what happened at this time, and here's what happened at this time. And Godard was like, I'm behind the curve, like I'm 25 or whatever, and I haven't made a film, I need to make a film. So he made this one, and I love it because it's actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And different. It's interesting. It almost sounds like the plot to North by Northwest. A small-time crook hunted by authorities for a car theft and the murder of a police officer attempts to persuade a hip American journalism student to run away with him to Italy.
Yeah. I mean, that description does sound like it, but it's a lot more kind of, I don't know, ephemeral, I guess, or
Sure. Yeah.
like there's less of a structure watching Breathless, and it's more just about capturing moments, as Jamie said.
And so we bring this up because the story behind that story is now a new film that's on Netflix, which is called Nouvelle Vague. Did I say that right?
Right.
Let's take a look at that. We'll talk about it.
Moi, je suis prêt à réaliser. Maintenant.
Aujourd'hui, tout le monde adore la nouvelle vague.
Tout ce dont on a besoin pour faire un film, c'est d'une fille et un flingue.
On n'aura jamais de J.T. Burger.
I never even said that I'd do the picture.
Voici le film en résumé. Ne montre ça à personne. Hein.
This is cool. So I guess what I like about this is that it's sort of a teaching film, right? Like I wasn't exposed to a lot of this stuff as a kid growing up or in college studying film too. Like I was unaware of this. And so to see how these styles came to be, who then later came to homage them or mimic them, is fascinating. And this is an interesting flick too. I watched some of it on Netflix and it was impressive.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, partly because he's adopting certain things that Godard implemented in Breathless, such as shooting on, and by he, Richard Linklater, the director of it, shooting on the streets of Paris, using jump cuts, using little lighting, that sort of thing, using untrained actors in a lot of these roles as some of the Cahiers du Cinema writers.
35 millimeter, I think, is what it was shot on.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that he doesn't capture, I think, what Godard was trying to do with Breathless, which is rethink the narrative structure. This is a very conventionally told story about the making of a movie, and it's very accessible. And I think anyone could watch this and kind of get the gist of what the new wave is. But Godard was all about kind of, taking apart a traditional narrative and putting it back together in a way that has not been done before. And that's what all of his movies were like. And it's one of the reasons that I actually have trouble connecting with a lot of Godard films. Like, I respect them and I respect that they're historical landmarks, but that is kind of what they are to me, as opposed to movies that I connect to emotionally.
Didn't you say that Mean Streets from Scorsese was shot to mimic this style?
Sure, yeah, but style and emotional attachment are two different things.
Sure.
Like, I can appreciate how Scorsese and Soderbergh and Tarantino are borrowing elements from these movies, and I see those influences, and that's very cool. But at the same time, when I watch Breathless, I can't connect with it. I was able to connect with Nouvelle Vague, which is maybe a problem for that movie because it's so accessible that it's not really living in the spirit of what Godard was doing. It's more just about the aesthetic trademarks of New Wave cinema.
Yeah.
That being said, I still think it was a very interesting movie and incredibly well made and acted, and I enjoyed it.
Totally different.
Perhaps more than Breathless.
The cast does a really good job of not imitating or mimicking the people that they're playing. They actually embody them.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the person's name who actually plays Godard in Nouvelle Vague, but this is his first movie.
He's
the
great.
mannerisms that he has in this film, if you watch interviews, that's Godard.
Yeah.
It blew my mind how good that they were.
Yeah. And it's interesting how passion, fear of failure drives you to do something magnificent, and that's what this guy's story was. Yeah. All right, what do you rate it?
I'd say see Nouvelle Vague and check out some New Wave films.
Yeah, I think that if you don't watch Breathless, this one's not really going to make sense or resonate with you, so maybe watch Breathless and then try Nouvelle Vague.
That's right. It's in French too, the vast majority of it is. So you're going to have to do a little reading.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. Everyone's fine. Everything's fine.
It's 1 inch at the bottom.
As long as you don't have bad eyesight like me, it's fine.
It's a good movie. Coming up, we're going to talk about The Cinegift. If you haven't seen The Cell, if that doesn't ring a bell for you, you're welcome when we come back. All right. So The Cinegift, last episode was mine, and I offered The Cell. And I couldn't really establish why, but we wanted to think back to a film that jarred me. It was one of the first films that made me go, what just happened? What did I just witness, and why do I feel so off kilter? Why did I pick it? That's why I picked it, because its impact it had on me. Moreover, I wanted to see if it still held up in my brain today as an adult that it did when I was, 18 or 16 when I saw this for the first time. I then thought that the videography, like the cinematography, was impeccably different, unlike anything I'd ever seen. I'd never seen a film portray a nightmare in such a real way, let alone the nightmare of the inside of a serial killer's brain. So that's why I picked it. What do you think?
I've seen this movie multiple times. I enjoy it. Its director Tarsem is a crazy visualist. He's a commercial director and kind of got into films. Hasn't made a film in a while, but he's incredible in terms of the visuals. But the movie is kind of coming off this line of 90s serial killer movies, Silence of the Lambs, Seven.
Kiss the Girls.
Yeah, the 90s were
Seven.
Crazy obsessed with these types of movies, and I think this is kind of the tail end of it. And a lot of the story is really familiar, and I don't really care about the story. It's fine. Jennifer Lopez is quite good, I think, but
you don't care about a girl trapped in.
It's a neat idea.
In a basement water tank, it's filling up, and you got to get to her or she's going to die.
I don't want to see her die, of course. I just don't think there's much going on in terms of the story. It's pretty base level in terms of the story,
yes.
Which is fine. I think the visuals elevate it, and I sit there and watch all the pretty pictures and crazy nightmare imagery, and it's fascinating. And for that reason, it's an easy recommendation.
What'd you think of it?
So, I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. Horror's not really my thing. And this really is more like procedural, serial killers, trying to understand the human mind, which is right up my alley. But it's just a little spoopy. And
what was it, the metal rings hooked on his back skin and calf skin?
That gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Was it the child torture of the father? Which part was it? Was it the intestines being rolled in a medieval way?
No.
It's a gory movie.
That I can handle because I've seen plenty of Law and Order, CSI, whatever. It was the child with the fangs coming at you.
Ooh.
I was like, ah.
That was silly looking.
Right.
Hey.
But when you're not expecting it, my guy, I was like,
right out the gate.
Whatever CGI they used to make his face all weird, that's silly.
It's fantastic.
That CGI has not aged well.
I have never said what the F out loud
Yes.
more while watching a movie than when I watched this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And I had seen like the images of Vincent D'Onofrio as like, the demon devil type person.
Yes.
I had seen the images of J-Lo in her like almost empress get up.
Yeah.
But I had never seen the movie. So then I'm watching it, I was like, oh. But I kind of like it. Wait, no, I hate it. Wait, I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Yes. That's a good thing.
I think Vince Vaughn, incredible. Vincent D'Onofrio, incredible. J-Lo, incredible. I don't know what I think about the story.
Yeah.
But I will say what I found really, really interesting overall is when J-Lo goes into his brain the first time and she's following the child, and then she's in this place with different rooms with things happening. It almost felt like I was watching music videos.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
a Tool music video?
Yeah. I was like, what?
Well, that was that era.
Happening?
Yeah, that was that era.
Well, that's like also the anatomy of a dream in a dream world, and how things don't fluidly go like they do in reality. I thought the reason I really enjoyed this movie, and I just figured it out watching it is, now, 20 plus years later, 25 years later, is that it gives an empathic look at a serial killer, not as a serial killer, but as a human being. And a look as to why do people sometimes turn into monsters as adults. And in this case, it's because he's severely abused by his father in many ways as a child, and that creates a monster. And J-Lo sees through that and even puts herself at risk to go back and reach out to the kid version of the serial killer and try and turn him back to the light. Anyway, I won't give the rest away, but I thought I thought Vaughn was horrible.
What do you mean?
I thought Vince Vaughn
For being serious.
was really bad in this movie.
He's not the best in this movie.
I'm a big Vince Vaughn fan, but
When
he
you're
turned at
looking
one
at him
point.
being serious,
He turned at one point to
it's
his
good
partner
enough.
and winked at him like he does in like Wedding Crashers. Or
Okay,
whatever.
yeah,
And
that's
I'm like,
fair. That's fair.
I'm like, there it is. There's the little seedling of the real Vaughn there.
He's trying to figure out who he is in this era.
Yeah, I
He's
thought it
not
was
quite
not
a
good.
Name yet? Yeah.
Still a fan though. The visuals, I don't know of any other movie. You probably know of a couple. You probably know of a couple, but it's rare when you get that sort of abstract, delusional beauty.
Yeah.
Scary,
kind
but
of felt like I was
wild.
in an acid trip.
Yes.
I've never been in an acid trip, but that's what I kind
You
of
don't have to talk about it. It's okay.
imagine it to be.
Sure.
There's a movie this director made called The Fall that came out in 2007, where just a ton less CGI, all actual locations, but imagery like this. Not scary at all. It's a very kind of life-affirming movie about the power of cinema and power of dreams and everything.
Cool.
But highly recommend people check it out because it's all these incredible visuals, but just in maybe a more accessible package.
That's fair. I do think it's interesting that there are certain bits of this movie that while I was watching it, I was like, did the Safdie brothers pull from this? Like, because in Uncut Gems, they do the going into the cell or whatever and coming out and they're in the mine. I'm like, wait, they just did that.
Yeah.
So even though this is a movie that I had not
So
heard
it's a
of
classic,
and not seen,
is what you're saying?
I feel like a lot of people probably like it and have drawn from it.
That's pretty good. It's wild, that's for sure. If you want to see something that you've never seen before, watch The Cell. All right, who's next? Who's got the next Cinegift?
That would be Brian.
Yeah, I do. Going off of the new wave, I want to. Neither of you have seen The 400 Blows, which is talked a lot about in Nouvelle Vague. So I think we should watch that. Came out in 1959, directed by Francois Truffaut, who's a very formative director in the new wave. And it's a really interesting look at a rebellious youth in France. Great movie.
Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah, kind of.
What's it called again?
The 400 Blows, which
400
is
Blows.
It doesn't really translate very well, but basically it means like raising hell.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, where can we find it?
It's on the Criterion Channel or wherever you rent movies. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, great. Happy to check it out. Appreciate it. Tell them where you're at.
I'm on Deep Focus Review, where I'll be writing about kind of all the new releases that are coming out lately, including Wicked for Good and Is This Thing On? And you name it, I'll be reviewing it.
Jamie, where you at?
Do you want this hat?
I don't.
But it's Wicked for Good.
No, we don't promote the movies. We review them.
Okay, well, Ben Derry gave me this hat, so I told him I'd put it on the show. I did it.
Where can the people find you?
Instagram, Twitter, at Letterboxd, at It's Jamie Fools, if you're looking for things that I've written, the playlist, and Carol Levin.
Well, for Jamie and Brian, I'm Chris. Appreciate you joining us in this episode of Cinephiles. See you next time.